I've realized as I've been doing this for so long that when you do things for the right reason, somebody will stop and tell you. So if you're dressed well and you're walking around on the streets, generally, sometime throughout the course of your day, a complete stranger will stop you and say, hey, you look really great today. And that's feedback coming back to you, telling you that you're doing the right thing. And so we want to help men realize, what all goes into their overall image and their overall presentation, help them polish it and perfect it and make it a tool that works for them with whatever their goals are that they're trying to accomplish. I started Henry A. Davidsen my senior year of college when I was at the University of Pennsylvania. And the concept came about based on an experience that I had, getting my first suit ever actually custom tailored. I had a friend, a classmate of mine, whose family had 3 generations of master tailors above him, and his father, being the 3rd generation, had an incredible skill but had not really grown his business the way he should have. My friend was really a little serial entrepreneur, and wanting to help his father grow the business, had for a while been trying to sell me a suit. And being a college student, I said, I really don't have any need for a suit. Let's just go be college kids, have a good time and hang out. Roll around my senior year, and job interviews started about 4 months earlier than I thought they would. I didn't realize that the jobs I wanted recruit right when you get back to campus senior year. And all of a sudden I was in need of a suit. So what do? You go to the only person you know that's ever talked to you about suits and say, what's this look like? And going through this process with his father, his father came up to campus, ended up taking my measurements, and I went through having my very first suit custom tailored and handmade by a generation of tailors before him.
This would be a great example. This is a wool silk. You feel how thin that is. Yeah. So that needs some fulling up. It needs some development. It needs to drape better. But if you put that on the wooden machine, it'd have these marks and creases and it'd be ruined.
So this is the jet scour?
That is, yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah. So a wool linen, a wool silk,
mohair.
A jacketing, yeah, some mohair.
With the mohair you do a lot on the open scour, right?
And the reason that you would do mohair on the open scour is that actually lots of mohair, the customer and the fabric, it doesn't benefit from being developed. They want it clean, they want it crisp,
and dry.
They don't want it to feel drapey and woolly. Yeah. They want it to feel completely the opposite.
It's become a very important thing for me to visit my suppliers and my shops where our products are made. One, seeing how their processes work in person and firsthand helps me have a better understanding of the product that I'm offering. It also helps me have a better understanding of how I can work together in partnership with the shops that are producing our garments and ultimately deliver a better finished product and a better experience to the client. Since so much of our experience here in Philadelphia with our clients is based around educating them, I have to be able to also continue to educate myself. And so every time I go visit one of my suppliers in my shops, I'm always picking up tidbits that make me better and ultimately I can bring back to make the experience with my clients better.
Yeah, so these are the really delicate, pure vicuna fabrics that we have. So we're not wanting to move these around a lot. So they're held on the floor, and they only ever go as far as the table and back, obviously handled not very much at all, because I mean they're really, absolutely beautiful.
And this right here is thousands of dollars worth of fabric.
Yes.
Thousands, and it's just a small little roll.
Just a few meters is really, a lot.
Really can only be procured every couple years, the fiber, right?
Yes, yeah.
And
I mean, it's a very, very unique product, actually. The world supply of the fiber was purchased by Dorme, and it's really a unique product.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. And
how many colors?
So we have about 10 colors. Obviously, the very traditional colors you would expect for this type of product. And then, you know, a nice navy, a dark green, and that kind of thing.
And they're all under plastic.
That lives really underneath our eyeballs all the time.
Bespoke. It's a great word. Well, bespoke really comes from the old days. You used to have fabric merchants that would travel from tailor to tailor selling quantities of cloth. And the tailor would buy the cloth and hold it in stock. The client would come into the tailor's shop, look through a wall of cloth that they have, select the specific cloth they want the suit to be made from, and then that cloth became spoken for. So literally the value in a bespoke suit comes in a couple different ways. First, the longevity that's going to come with this. So a bespoke suit, when it fits you the right way, the wear and tear on it is reduced because you don't have seams pulling or you don't have fabric rubbing where it shouldn't. As well, being tailored by hand brings about an element that creates a longevity in the garment. So a true bespoke suit, well cared for, well worn, should last somebody a lifetime, and it should become an item that could be passed down through different generations.
So this is the mending room, and essentially this is a very traditional part of the process, something which simply can't be eliminated because we're looking at we're talking about natural fibres. So it's a painstaking job, requires a lot of conscientiousness of literally inspecting every metre of the fabric on both the back and the face. So there's a tiny little mend taking place there.
The little pull.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the looms have great systems, but you know, there's so much dust and fibre knocking around in the week. Sometimes those systems don't quite work perfectly. So you'll get minor faults showing up. Now, 10, 15 years ago, that fault might have run for 7 or 8 metres. So
wow.
That's the sort of advantage that you see from the technology, is it just the faults don't run as bad, you know, for as long.
When I went to London for the first time, or we went to the UK for the first time, and saw how much detail goes into the fabric, it brought a whole new appreciation to what I was putting in front of my clients.
There's lots of different ways to have fabric stand out. It could be texture, it could be coloration, it could be design, it could be the materials used. But in our case, we primarily use nothing but the finest wools. And wools are made up of strands of sheep hair. So the basic fiber being 7 to 9 inches long and grown from specially bred sheep, which have a very thin filament, are able to be twisted really tightly, so it makes it very wrinkle resistant, and you can color it and twist it and make some great yarns and colors and textures out of it.
So this is the cropping that we were talking about, cutting, where in the development of the fabric, in the softening of it in the scouring machine, we have actually, on the journey, developed quite a lot of fibre. And we don't want that fibre sitting on the surface of the fabric when it's finished out. We want the softness and the drape, but we don't want the fibre. And the way that this is done is we cut the fibre off. So this is an extremely old machine. We wanted an original mechanised way of doing it. And there's your cylinder, which spins round and round and round. And at the base of the cylinder, you've got your blade, and the fibre is trapped between the cylinder and the blade and sheared off. And this machine, you set the distance of the blade away from the fabric by hand. So what they do is they put a piece of paper in, and the resistance of the paper being pulled out tells them how close they think they've got the blade to the fabric. So this was a very original way of doing it, and it's only got one blade, so you cut the fabric, bring it back round again, cut it again, bring it back round again, cut it again, until, by looking up to the light, you saw that you got it exactly right.
Kind of 3 classifications of pattern. The first one is off the rack, right? And I would say 90% or more of the world is probably shopping that way. Right. And it's a stock size. So we call it stock size, off the rack. In London, they'd call it off the peg. So if you've heard that terminology. And the way that that's created is really based off a set of measurements that fit most people most of the time.
Right.
And it's based off of your chest measurement. So when you see a 40 or a 42 or a 44 in the sizing, that's saying that your chest is 42 inches around, or 44 inches around. And from there, there's a set of ratios that determine the rest of the pattern. So if your chest is 44, your shoulder should be X, your back should be Y, the length should be another variable of that. And it's all kind of preset around what most people determine as the standard set of ratios. Right. And then you buy it and you have to get it altered, and there's only so much you can change in the pattern. When you step into made to measure, it's the first step of customizing this. So made to measure takes your measurements, it takes the closest existing stock pattern to your measurements, and then it blends the two together. So we're making adjustments to an existing pattern as opposed to actually creating a pattern for you. Okay. When you adjust that existing pattern, you have to adjust it and maintain those ratios. So if your chest is really broad but your shoulders are narrow, guess what? The garment's going to come out a little bit extra wide in the shoulder, and then we have to do extra work to finish it really to fit you the right way. Okay. You still get to pick your fabric, you still get to pick all the style elements, but the fit is not going to be as exact.
Understood.
So we like to set the expectation that obviously off the rack fits most people most of the time. Made to measure should fit you way better than off the rack, but it may not quite be perfect. When you get into custom, the expectation becomes perfection.
So my first reflection in the process was we started at what I'll call base zero. And Brian and the team at Henry A. Davidsen did a really nice job of educating me. They assumed I knew nothing, which was perfect because I found that I really did know very little, and really walked me through the process of how the wool is made, and it gave me a better understanding of what type of a product I might ultimately want. I've been shopping for customs clothes for some time now, but this was a completely different experience for me. And I think it was a combination of a few things. For one, it was the knowledge of the staff. The team here really served to try to educate me before I made any kind of purchases, where typically it was, here's the product, we'll size it for you and sell it to you. Second was just the wide range of just options around fabrics and styles and different things that you could do to customize the garment to make it look more like something that was one of a kind. I've always tried to dress a little more upscale. I was taught earlier on to dress for the next level up in an organization. But I seem to get a little more attention now with the newer suits that I've purchased. People can tell that there's something different, and they can't always put their finger on the difference, but the fit is obviously much better. The little details in the design are much better. So I'm getting a warm reception and a lot of questions about where did you get that, and how did you pick that, and where's something like that available?
So lock it down, some steam and pressure on it. And the coat starts taking shape. Yeah, it's beautiful.
My first ever custom garment was actually here at Henry A. Davidsen. This was back in 2010. I was a groomsman in a very close friend's wedding. Again, I was a menswear enthusiast at the time, I still am, but I had never had anything made for me. And I figured, well, I'm a groomsman in my very good friend's wedding, now's the time. And so I had known Brian already. I had brought him one or two clients at that point. And I said, hey, I need a white dress shirt. So that was my dipping of the toe into the custom world, was a simple white dress shirt. And Brian was kind enough to make one for me, and I remember very, very clearly and very vividly when I put it on for the first time. And when I say that our clients stand up straighter and they feel better and they can't help but smile, I know what that looks like very keenly because I remember it happening to me when I put that shirt on and it fit my body perfectly. The sleeves were exactly the length that they were supposed to be. I could actually button the collar and wear a tie without feeling like I was choking. It was amazing.
The first time I put on a custom suit was some time ago, but I was, as a young man, I was the off-the-peg sort of fella. I would go into my local, retail store and hunt about and eventually pick something, and didn't really realise what a compromise I was making at that particular time. So then I thought, well, we're producing all this fabric for people having custom-made suits, why don't I try one myself? And I went to somebody locally, because there are lots of tailors locally, and And sure enough, it was a transformation.
First suit I ever owned, 8th grade, graduation picture. My dad made me a special garment. It was a mouse grade 8x4 double-breasted with a lay-down ulcer lapel. I was the sharpest dressed guy in the whole class. That was a hand-me-down to my brother and to my cousins after that. So that suit lasted a long time. I wish I had the foresight to keep that, because that was a great garment. It was a beautiful suit.
The artistry of tailoring, being a two-dimensional start, you take a flat piece of fabric and create a three-dimensional garment out of it. So this is really change of dimension here.
So what she's working on is she has the two fronts, and then what she's going to do is attach the back, which that's what she's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
See the coat? Which that one's done. So now we're looking at, we're to this stage of the game, of the coat.
So we have,
Still no back lining, but you have the back joint to it.
and the shoulder pad's been added.
Right.
Okay. So, getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. That's got some heft to it too, even already at that stage. You can feel the body starting to come into it.
The ready-to-wear garments, they build different. The construction of the garment, they're all different. They use the new technology of fusings. The fusings is another layer of fabric that is added in the front of the jacket. It's glued basically with heat and steam to the textile to have that body that we achieve with the canvases on the suits made by hand.
A ready-made suit, when you look at that, and you go to a store and you look at a size 40 or 42 and you see there's 20 suits. And on the whole rack, you've got from size 38 to 50, and they may have 30 blue striped suits there. So that 30 suits are out there in the marketplace. So there's 30 people that are all different sizes and shapes that have that same cloth.
There was a great piece in Excel Blue that has gone out, and I think it's canceled, unfortunately. And it was similar to this, but it had a very light window pane on it that was popular.
Quite subtle, yeah.
So we had a few guys want that, and sorry, only so much. Get on it while you can. You know, that's one of the beauties of what you guys do as well. In our mind, is it's really exclusive luxury, and you don't produce 20 cuts, 20 pieces. You produce 2 or 3 for the piece length, and that's enough for, what would 3 pieces translate that into suits?
3 pieces, 184, maybe 45 suits.
45 suits worldwide.
And
then it's gone. When I put on my first custom suit, I really didn't have much to compare to because I had never worn a suit previously. But I did shop in high school. I obviously had the need to be dressed. I was able to get by mainly on slacks and sport coats. And compared to the whole process from high school and what carried me through my college years until I put on that first custom suit, it really was a night and day. And very early on, I remember learning how people treat you differently when you present a certain way. So I was out as a college kid at a Center City bar. It was a new venue that had just opened up, and I remember that everybody was hanging out on the second floor of the bar, and the third floor led to a rooftop, and that was the VIP section. Well, there was a big long line for VIP, and I remember walking right past it, nobody ever stopping me to question because I looked the part. And at the time, Donovan McNabb was the Eagles quarterback, well revered here in Philadelphia, and he happened to be hanging out in VIP. So I said to the bartender, ask him what he wants, sent a shot down to him, or a drink, whatever he chose, and ended up spending some time hanging out with the Eagles quarterback that night. So all of that I would attribute to the suit that I was wearing, my very first custom suit, and it's a neat story to just kind of show and illustrate the power of image. When you do it the right way, you look the part, people just assume you are the part, and they don't stop to question you.
I don't know how to explain it. It's a satisfaction.
What is?
That see a client smiling in front of the mirror because we did something good for him. So it's a satisfaction of seeing other people happy for what we do.
Henry Davidsen feels like home. You walk in, you're welcomed, and you feel special in this place. There are beautiful fabrics everywhere. This is a place that I really enjoy coming to, which for me is a complete turnaround from being very stressed out when I have to go clothes shopping.
My favorite part of my job is, frankly, it's the client interaction. We have fantastic clients, and one thing that I love is to see our clients begin to truly understand the concepts of menswear that we make it a point to teach them. So we can essentially teach a man how to fish as opposed to just giving him that fish. That's the most satisfying part of the job for me.
So let's pick the buttonhole colors for the lapel, and then typically with that, if you're going to do a color here, do you like to do that on the last buttonhole too? Okay.
Yes.
And we'll do that then at the finishing stage when we create those buttonholes. But any preference? So let's start with the blue. And looking at the lining, we have a lot of colors here in the lining. You got greens, oranges, blues.
I love orange. Is that too much? And yes is okay. Like, you know.
So orange is a bit of an aggressive color, but if you, I think I'm looking at the color choices here. If you go with something a little darker, maybe this burnt orange. I think that, and that could be a signature for you, right? That's, John's the guy who wears the orange buttonhole and it always looks sharp, is the impression you want to leave. So maybe my favorite part of my job is working with my clients. Also working with my team. Really, there's a lot of different elements to my job that happen behind the scenes that keep me going, but I would say the best part of my job is when a client comes back after wearing his first garment and tells me about the compliments he received. Again, it goes back to knowing when I receive those compliments how I feel, and knowing that I was able to help them realize that it is possible. Because so many clients come in and say, nobody's ever complimented me on my suits. And I tell them, be careful, when you leave here, you're gonna have complete strangers stop and compliment you. And they say, no, it's never gonna happen. And then they come back and tell me that it happened. And I know that they must feel like $1 million when that happens. So that feeling and that feedback from my clients is what I enjoy most, knowing that I've helped them feel a certain way in a positive manner and really getting them to buy in and believe how powerful this idea of image can be. And once they start using that, knowing the effect it's going to have then on the different situations we've created for them, whether it be personal or professional.